All right, bro. And we are live. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh, everyone. Welcome to another episode of The Shaded Youth. As usual, I'm your host, Shaquille. And as usual, we have an amazing guest today. And today's episode is going to be a bit more laid back, a bit more chill, just a one on one session with the boys. And the boy in question being the boy Sabeeh.
Yo,
Hey,
Assalamualaikum guys, what's up?
Walaikum salam, bro. How you been?
Alhamdulillah, man, good day. Just closing towards the end. Week's been good. Can't complain. What about you?
Amazing, man. Yeah, I mean, same thing. It's a Thursday night. My classes are done for the week. I got nothing really scheduled for tomorrow. So pretty much I'm just left to like make sure I get stuff done. Otherwise, my day's gonna go to waste. Um, and I feel like on days off like Friday, it's either hit or miss. Like it's either I get a lot of stuff done or I wake up like literally right before Juma, which is at like 1 o'clock, and then I don't know. The rest of the day is kind of a waste because if you wake up at like noon, then nothing happens. Like I don't know how's it usually for you if on like days where like you don't really have anything going on.
Dude, don't get me started. The past few days, I've literally been waking up for Fajr, so 6 a.m. every day, staying
Okay,
up. Some days like making breakfast, taking a shower, going on a run, doing everything. And then 8:30 hits, and then I hit the bed and I'm out of it. The next thing you know, it's like 12:30. I'm waking up and I'm eating lunch. And it's like half of my day is just gone because of me waking up late. But it's been a struggle, but I know exactly how you feel.
yeah, I mean, so the past couple of days, um, you've been playing Minecraft like super late, so that probably that probably affected
We
it.
don't have to talk about that. I mean, if you want to talk about that, we can talk about that. I've been killing it in the game, but that's true. We
Bro,
have
you've
been
been
playing
killing it in
Minecraft,
the scene, bro. You're a legend. You're a legend in Minecraft, bro.
bro. It's I got that Fortune 3 pickaxe coming real soon. It's gonna be over once that happens.
Damn, bro. I don't even know what that means. So I literally just started. Like it's 2021 and I never played Minecraft growing up. So all I played was like Pokemon and then like some JRPGs and like some FPS like here and there and then like maybe some GTA and Assassin's Creed. That's probably it. Minecraft and like a bunch of these open world games like I never really picked up. So I finally picked it up this week. And it was so funny because like Sabi and then like some of our other friends, like you guys would just be like literally telling me how to like mine through wood. Like that's how
Yeah,
bad it was, bro.
let me just preface for everyone listening and watching. Like this man didn't know what like a tree was. Like we had to show him this is how you
Yeah.
break a log. This is how you break a tree. But I mean, it's all jokes. Like what game you played, where you came from. But I mean, just on the topic of coming from a childhood of playing Minecraft or playing Roblox or playing RPGs or playing Pokemon. I think it's such a like one interesting thought I have about that is just like the different perspectives you have from like let's even beyond video games, just from like your childhood and how that shifts you. Like whether you went to an Islamic school growing up, or whether you went to you know different country, you came to the states when you were like 6 or 7 from like Pakistan or UK. And I say Pakistan because that's literally where I came from when I was 5 years old. Literally just flew
Pakistan
here,
Zindabad.
yeah, and starting my life. But it shifts so much of how I mean personally for myself how I view the world, how I tackle a bunch of situations and even like my temperament, my values. And just personally for me, it's always interesting to see that within different people. Like just even in New York, outside of New York, like in our circle, outside of our circle.
Gotcha, bro. I mean, childhood, I feel like I never really realized how much of a role it played in like how I view the world now. Until I took like my first psychology course in college,
Oh
and then
wow.
we went through like literally how the way your mom like treated you as a baby, like that can influence it. Like literally from birth, any ounce of trauma that was there, it's gonna affect you into adulthood. Because trauma, like look at like physical trauma, right? Like if you get trauma in like any part of your body's gonna remember that. Like your body won't be the same until you get like therapy for that, like physical therapy. Um, and so like the same thing with like psychological trauma. Like you won't really uh be able to recover until you face that thing head on and like deal with it head on. And so like after I took that course, I'm like thinking like, damn, bro, like there's like so much stuff like that I'm like reflecting on now. Like, and this was like a couple years ago. I took another psychology course like last semester, and it was just like super interesting because like literally every single thing that happens in like the first like 3 or 4 years of your life, it's gonna affect you until like your 20s, 30s, 40s,
Yeah.
bro. Like it's insane, man.
It is. I recently read this book called Attached by Amir Levine. It talks about attachment styles, literally exactly what you're saying, how growing up, like the way your parents, specifically your mother, gave you attention directly affects your relationships with either romantic, platonic, and just how you approach people. And it's crazy. It's something like we often overlook, but even we can see it in our daily lives. Like when we have a friend who just like very closed off, doesn't want to like talk about personal things, doesn't want to open up. That's basically an avoidant attachment style, and that comes from when you were younger. Your parents either didn't give you consistent attention or consistent care, and you just grew to become like that. And even beyond like attachment styles, and whatnot, just like growing up in general, it's like from the age of 4, I'm pretty sure it's like after 4, like so many things are set in stone, like your personality, your IQ, your EQ. And the nice thing is like some things you can train, like the brain is very plastic. And that's like that was emphasized a lot in the book I'm talking about, even what you're saying right now. But so much of it is like just deeply ingrained at a certain point. And it's like we take so much for granted of just like how we grew up, our childhood, how our parents treated us. And like I guess for you and I, like how amazing our parents were, and like how privileged we are in many ways to just have parents that gave us attention, have parents that put us on the right path and made us focus on the right things. And it's I mean just child development and just developmental psychology as a whole is absurd. It's so cool. Like Carl Jung, great guy, bro. Love his work.
Carl Jung, is he the author of the book you're talking about?
No. He is just like he's like one of the main modern psychologists that talks a lot about the unconscious mind, unconscious
Mm-hmm.
desires. And he touches a lot on developmental psychology, more so personal psychology, but lots of aspects of it as well. But just super cool guy, super cool books and ideas.
Gotcha, bro. I mean, so Sabi, I made a mistake of not really going into your background before talking about all of this, because now it just seems like you're like someone big into psychology. Could you just explain to the viewers and me, because I don't know everything about you, bro. Maybe I'll learn something new. Just explain, like give a 30-second summary of what makes Sabi.
Yeah, for sure. So, so my name is Sabeeh Hassany. I'm 18 years old. I'm currently on a gap year before attending Boston College in the fall. I went to high school with Shaquille, both graduated from Brooklyn Tech. And I guess just a few things that I'm like kind of really interested in. I'm big on like different technologies, just emerging technologies in the world. And specifically, I've been researching a lot of brain computer interfaces, which are basically any sort of device that connects neural input into some sort of designated output. And that could be for artificial limbs for paraplegic people. That can be for speech devices for people that are neurologically disabled, can't talk. And I did some work with that last year, as well as for the second half of the year, I did more stuff in AI, just exploring machine learning, learning the intuition, doing the code. And this past year, I guess it's February now, so I guess this past academic year, I've been more kind of just like free ranging, so kind of trying to understand different things about the world, different problems about the world, trying to understand people. So Myers-Briggs, personality, psychology, and just trying to understand like different just problems and just things and aspects of the world and change. So recently, a project I was working on, I'm currently working on as well, is breaking down plastic pollution. So trying to figure out like, why is there a plastic pollution problem? It's one of the biggest problems in the world right now. It's unseen to us. It's unseen to most people in developed countries, partially because a lot of the plastic and trash we throw out to other places, underdeveloped places. So I guess like just what makes me is like I just love understanding different things. I love breaking down complex ideas. I love figuring out different stuff and kind of like challenging myself in a way that's like, hopefully doesn't tire me, doesn't burn me out, but just it's intellectually challenging. Like I love learning about new things, talking to new people, meeting new people, having dope discussions like this. And obviously I play some Minecraft here and there. So that's a quick rundown.
Gotcha, bro. And how old are you, by the way?
18.
18. So classic Gen Z kid right there. I don't know, just because of the Minecraft. But basically, yeah, man. I mean, you have a lot of interest, bro. You mentioned like a bunch of things. You mentioned like psychology, and then like obviously environmental factors, and your main thing is tech, right? Like your main line of career that you're going into is in technology, like whether it be comp sci or like comp sci would be the main field, right?
Yeah, I would say the way I kind of like view my world right now is just a
Mm-hmm.
matter of like what's most utility to me. And for me, like just learning how to code and getting really, really good at that just is extremely useful for kind of like whatever I do in the world.
Mm-hmm.
And as well as just like, having security, like CS majors make like 100K out of school, like after 3, 4 years, 300K. It's not necessarily about the money, but it's about the capital. And like those two, I would say those are two different things. Because money is just like you have stuff to spend, you have stuff to just do random things. But I view capital as more like investing, or like
Mm-hmm.
just you have stuff to invest in different places, and not
Yeah.
like conventional investments like stocks, gold, all that stuff, but just like maybe start a company. Like I feel like just overall the way I kind of like view things, or the way I like view my personal trajectory or whatever I'm trying to do is like what are interesting problems in the world that can be solved. And for me, it's just technology and entrepreneurship and specifically coding is just like, useful frameworks to use to kind of get there. But yeah, definitely like, major in college is going to be neuroscience CS. So going down like a computational neuroscience or like cognitive science path, but then again, having that kind of like CS like backup for myself with whatever happens.
Gotcha, bro. So, the reason that I don't know, I hit you up like super last minute this week. I was like, yo, I need a guest for this week. Would you be down? And the reason that I kind of did that was, um, not to put you down. You're an amazing person, and I would love to have you on as a guest anytime. But I actually wasn't planning to have a guest on for this week. Um, because I just haven't been getting responses from people that I've been hitting up, and also I haven't been hitting up enough people. So it's both blame on me, but also I just haven't been getting the response. A lot of the factors is like school just started, so I've been focusing on that a lot, and I haven't really been putting my energy into like reaching out. Um, I watched a video on consistency 2 nights ago, because I
Who
feel
was the
like
video by?
it was so it's about another like Muslim podcaster. So his name is Faisal Chaudhry, and he has his own personal channel. So his podcast is called Freshly Grounded, and he has his personal channel is just called Faisal. So he titled it like how to be consistent in anything at all, and parentheses like 4 years of podcasting, right? So he was like, we made sure to put out an episode every single week, pretty much. Um, and I've been kind of doing this thing for I'd say a year now,
Wow.
but we only have 26 episodes. That means for half of that time, I've been inconsistent. And I realized that it wasn't just like me planning, like, oh, I'm going to take like 1 or 2 months to not do this. It was more like me missing a week. And then that became like 2 weeks. And then that became like 3, 4 weeks. And then I guess that spiraled into like me just taking like months long hiatus at a time. Like during quarantine, I was doing like I was out for like 5 months. So short ramble. I needed an episode for this week. I was like, I always get my boys on when I don't have an actual guest, and for this week, I was like, okay, so B would be perfect because I feel like me and Drew are kind of similar, and like we love consuming productivity junk material. I
Oh
don't know. I feel like
man.
that's like a guilty pleasure, right? Because I remember we talked about like Ali Abdal and like that kind of scene, and bro, you use Notion. Like that's the most productivity YouTuber junk material out there, bro. Like everyone is sponsored by Notion at this point. So I was just like, yo, Sabi would be bomb for this episode. So yeah, man. Like consistency is just like I think it's so under um like it's not like overlooked. It's like underlooked. I don't know if that's a word, but
I think so.
it's
Yeah, I think it
yeah,
is.
I think that's a word. But it's just not utilized enough. Like people want big things, but they don't realize that big things are only made out of like a bunch of smaller things, and eventually you get that like big win for yourself and that big um that huge like mansion or job title that you want in life, but that'll only come after taking the necessary steps, the necessary habits, necessary um days at a time, right? Like that's pretty much how it's gonna go.
Yeah, that's really interesting. So that reminds me of a story I kind of heard, and when I first heard it, I was like, "Wow, this guy's like a douchebag. Like he's so rude." But anyways,
Hmm.
so Pablo Picasso, we know him. We don't necessarily love him. He's a cool guy. Made some really dope innovations, just like contributions to art as a whole. But there's just one story of like he was, I think, like at a park or on a train or something like that, and a lady came up to him, obviously knowing who he was, and she was like, "Oh my
Hmm.
God, like can you make a drawing of me? Can you make a painting of me right now?" He didn't say anything. Kind of just took out a notepad or whatever he did, and just started making something of her. Now at the end of it, he ripped out a piece of paper from his notebook. He handed it to her, and he was like, "Oh, that'll be $5,000. That'll be like 5,000 pesos or whatever."
Yeah.
And the lady was just like, "What the hell? Like I asked you to make me something. Like it took you like literally 10 minutes, like 5-10 minutes. Why are you charging me this much money?" And his whole thing was like, like this isn't just 5-10 minutes. This is
Hmm.
like thousands and thousands of hours of all the practice and just work and just grinding I put into perfecting my craft and perfecting what I do.
Hmm.
And I think about that story, like sometimes we're just like with the aspect of consistency, right? Like it's people tend to focus so much on the outcome and very little on the process, when in reality it's the process that gets us to the outcome. And progress in any form is like very, I mean, like obviously there's some like outlier situations, but tends to be like not linear in any way. It's not like you're grinding at something and then like you're steadily increasing and just consistently going. It's extremely exponential. And for the first like probably 50 to like 60-70%, it's just a plateau. Like nothing really
Yeah.
happens. You're just
Hmm.
putting in the work. You're posting an episode. You're making a blog post, making a YouTube video, wherever it may be, and you're basically getting nothing. And then at one point, like something just spikes up and everything spikes up. But I totally agree. Like consistency. It's like I've always like I ask this question to my friends sometimes. Like, what is one thing? Like, what is the one thing that you could have in your life that would make your life so much better? And some people have like fairly conventional answers, like, oh, discipline, oh, like love, oh, like blah blah blah. But I feel like consistency is key. Like everyone says that, but consistency is the core to like just
Yeah.
what any sort of like positive good that happens in your life, like whether it be through relationships, whether it be through work, whether it be through some hobby or whatever it may be. Like if you don't take the first step, you're never going to take the first 100 steps. If you don't take the first 100 steps, you're never going to take the first 1,000 steps. And it's only until those 1,000 steps that like something happens and you're like, oh wow, like all this was worth it. So I mean, props to you for putting an episode out and just like scrapping something together, because that's basically what we did. That's basically what we're doing right now. But yeah,
I
I think
mean,
I
bro,
think
it's even that like I'll say that some of so another point that was brought up in the video is like not all of your episodes will be like your best, right? Like some of them will be stuff you actually really don't like. But I feel like even the stuff like sometimes the stuff that I make really last minute and like the ideas that I have just like on the fly, they're actually some of my most favorite moments. Like
also.
because so for example, so one of our good friends, Tasneem, I did an episode with him. And that was just because like I finally like because Tasneem is the I don't think he'll mind me saying this, but bro, he's such a flake. And I'll make sure to tell him that. I'll make sure to clip this part and send it to
DMing him right now. Don't worry, I'm on it.
him. But and some of the viewers might recognize him because he was on an episode. So literally like I hit him up like I think in the summer because I've been trying to like just catch up with people. I like just catching up with random people that I haven't like seen in a while. So I randomly call him up. He's like, bro, I'm busy. And then like 3 4 calls go by like over the span of like 2 days. He doesn't pick up. And then finally he picks up one day. I'm like, Tasneem, I'm gonna get the most mileage out of you, bro. You know what? Like I'm gonna not only call you for like a good 30 minutes, I'm also gonna schedule you for an episode. And he was like, all right, fine, man. Like whatever. Cause I didn't have an episode for that week. And I was like, my bro, let me just get my boys on. And so I got him on for the episode. It went really well. Like that episode was really fun to do because it's just a bunch of dudes, like it's just your friends like chatting, you know. And I noticed like whenever I do this with my friends, like obviously I love all the guests and amazing people that I bring on because I get to know more about them, that I benefit a lot from them. But people that I'm just comfortable with, like you, like other people like Hilal, Rosh, you know, Abdir, that's name, and is that all the friends I had on so far? Shahid. Oh, and you know, my boy Fad that I started this all with. Did I forget anyone? From like, I'm gonna get in trouble if I forgot anyone. So, right, all everyone that you're like comfortable with, and like your friends, just doing something with them, I feel like it just brings me like a certain amount of joy that I can't really like replicate in the form of an episode with like a speaker or like something. And it's like a different kind. It's not like more or less. It's just like a different form. Like it's just it's comfortable, it's recognizable, and I don't know, it's like a warm
Yeah,
feeling.
I get what you mean. I just a follow up to that. Do you think that that joy, those good feelings are coming from the fact that like that relationship that let's say you have with the person, like you're strengthening that on the podcast, but that's a relationship that's going to continue even beyond the podcast when with some guests, it's like, you have them on, like,
Yeah.
you guys vibe, you appreciate them, but like you guys don't necessarily talk afterwards. Maybe you hit them up like
Hmm.
6 months later and go to one of their events or go to one of their talks, but
Yeah.
there's not like a strong like kind of close relationship there. Do you think it's that, or it's more so just like really just good vibes?
I think it's both, right? Like good vibes would lead to the other one because like sure, I don't really like obviously like everyone's doing stuff with life, but you know, I'm not talking to people like everyone on a daily basis. Like I'm gonna miss out on some stuff in your life and like some stuff in other people's life. It's just the same for you. But like on and I always try to make an effort of like just having a natural conversation on this podcast. Like in the beginning, I kind of made the fault of like speaking to the camera rather than speaking to my guest. Like I'd rather just speak normally. Like this kind of conversation, I feel like we'd probably have anyway off camera.
Yeah.
Um, so I'm really comfortable with this kind of episode because I know I would be talking like this with them even off it. So it just it like strengthens my relationship with them, and also I'm getting something out of it. So it's like a
Yeah.
win relationship. Like I'm being productive, and I'm also getting some social time in there. And everyone needs some social time in their day in their week, right?
Yeah, and I think that that's partially why I do so many like work calls. So, like one thing I do with a lot of my friends, and you probably know this because you're in the whole productivity sphere, but study calls, right? Study with me's. And for those who don't know, a bunch of YouTubers online, they have these like 3 hour, 2 hour, four
Bro, I
hour
used
like
to think they were so pointless. I was like, why'd you film yourself 3 hours just studying? What the hell is this?
yeah, so it's basically just people just recording themselves working, right? And they tend to follow like some sort of like kind of working technique, like the Pomodoro method technique or Pomodoro method or the 40-20 method. And it's just them working, right? And it's like there's nothing really going on, but it's like, usually those people, those YouTubers tend to do it on a Zoom call first with like some fans, and
Hmm.
then they make that into a video that people can watch. But it's like just that presence is like it makes you want to do more, and it's like, you're doing something productive,
Yeah.
but if you do it with a friend, let's say, you're also, kind of getting some social time. Like you're not necessarily catching up, like you are strengthening that relationship in some way. Because and this is, I'm going on a tangent, and if it hasn't been clear, I tend to do this a lot in my
It's
conversations.
all good.
But there's just one article I read from like this tweet by David Perel. So David Perel, for those who don't know, he's like this Twitter, he's like the
Hmm.
Twitter writing guy. That's what he calls
Yeah.
himself. But he's a super cool guy. Very very engaging with his audience and whatnot. But basically, one of his blog posts was about relationships and their kind of relationship with time. And what I mean
Okay.
by that is like, when, at least for me, like whenever I think of the closest people in my life, I tend to think of people I've spent the most time with or I've sacrificed the most with. And
Hmm.
and usually, like, it's hardships and sacrifices, I would say, or hardships and time sacrifices are like two things that make you close. And with a productivity call or like a work call, it's like you're doing your own thing. You're like you're not like, it's like you're talking about their problems or helping them get over a breakup or an ex or something, but you're just like you're there and you're still using the time with each other in some way. And it's literally that's just like you're sacrificing your time in some way or your attention in some way. But it's like, it's low optionality and like you're getting work done, you're being productive, but then you're also like, you feel like you've connected with that person in some way. So I live for stuff like that, like, productive relationship making or whatever it may be. So fire.
Yeah, bro. I don't know. I'm like, this is all that kind of content. I'll always say it's like my guilty pleasure because I don't know. Sometimes I binge watch and I'm like, I actually didn't implement some of this. I just kind of like watching people do it. So, I mean, I've been getting better at it. Like I actually like schedule my day. I do all the journaling stuff, like all that kind of BS that actually works. So it's been working. And then that study call, like as I said in the beginning, like I was just like, why are they filming themselves? Like this is like such lazy content. Like they're just filming themselves and they're putting out there and they get like 100,000 views. Like, it's just so weird. Why are people engaging with this? But I realized like it helps. Like just seeing another person doing stuff, like it motivates you. Like you're gonna just want to pick up your laptop and start studying as well because this guy in front of you, he's another person. Like if he can pick it up and start studying for like 3-4 hours, so can you. Like you get on the grind because they can do it and they're not that much better than you. Like they're just another person, they're just another dude. Like they can obviously accomplish a lot because they've set these habits and these skills and these you know these things in their life to set them up for success. And that's kind of like, I guess, what I've been trying to do. And I don't know if I'd say I'm in like the productivity sphere. I'm definitely trying to be productive. I read this funny tweet. I don't know if it's a tweet or like a TikTok, but like someone said productivity videos for dudes are just like makeup tutorials for women. Like, and I think it's so true, man.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, productivity is like makeup videos, I guess, in some
Yeah.
way, but like that's going with the assumption that like, males only want
Right.
productivity
No,
videos. Like,
obviously,
yeah,
yeah, of
of
course.
course.
But
Yeah.
it was just a funny thing. I was just like, that's kind of true, I guess.
Yeah. No, it is and I think like the thing you said before, and like even with productivity videos, productivity videos. It's like, and again, I'm going like down to like a neuroscience like route
Mm-hmm.
again or psychology, and it's
Go for
ironic
it.
because like literally my phone is kind of like set up on a book I'm reading on like neuroscience. Anyways, but like mirror neurons, right?
Mm-hmm.
Mirror neurons are literally like, the neurons in your brain that fire when you see something happen that's similar. So like if I see you working, like my mirror neurons are like, oh my god, like I should work too. Like I should be in a
Oh
work mood. Or
shoot.
like when I see you being happy or something like that, like I tend to be happy as well.
Mm.
And it's like the same things. Like you're kind of like not reciprocating it, but you're matching the energy.
Mm-hmm.
Like your brain is literally wired in a way to do that. And I think that's like the joy we get from like productivity videos. Like we watch them, we're like, wow, like this man like works 10 hours a day. Wow, this is crazy. I worked, and then you're like, wait, no, I don't work 10 hours a day. What the hell's going on? And then
Yeah.
like you have like the whole like, I don't know, like the guilt, and you're like, oh, I just watched 4 hours of productive content and did
It's
nothing
just
productive.
there's a toxic side to him, man. Like there's because a lot of it makes you feel like you did something that day, but then you didn't do anything. You just sat on your butt, like watching something to get motivated, and didn't actually
Yeah.
implement it.
See, I agree, and like even like the toxic side, but I think another side is also just like the toxic element of just like pushing people to just always work or like
That's true. Yeah,
associate their,
that's true as
their
well.
work with
Mm-hmm.
work. And I mean, I have mixed opinions on it because I feel like I see a lot of tweets about people or just like people online talk about like, oh my god, like blah blah blah, like this is so stupid. Like it's okay if you did nothing today. If it's okay,
Mm-hmm.
you were just a waste man. And waste man is like a term that Ali Abdal uses a lot.
Yeah.
And in many ways it is, right? Like I feel like
Mm-hmm.
the whole productivity realm isn't meant to push an idea that like, if you're not being productive, you're not doing anything with your life. It's more so it's like, if you want to be more productive, which you should be because it's better for you in like every aspect, I would say, right? Because if you're just being productive with work, then you're making up time for things that matter to you more. And those things for some people are just work, but for some people those things can just be like, spending time with your family, reading a book, doing stuff you enjoy. And I think like that part of the relationship, the relationship with productivity is also important to know, right? Like your worth isn't tied with productivity, but it's not going to hurt you. But it's completely optional whether you do implement it or whether you don't implement it. But yeah, I think like I guess like that's just how I view like the whole productivity realm and productivity sphere. There's like so much to talk about there, which is like YouTubers, what they preach. But in general, I think the intentions are positive. The intentions are good, and I think that's what kind of should be emphasized or should be focused on, instead of just like beating each people down, or kind of like, oh wow, like you're wasting so much time, you're being so unproductive.
Yeah, definitely, bro. My bad. I had to put this on charge. It's about to die.
Yeah, no worries.
Um,
I saw you not being there, so I was like, let me just stall. Let me just keep going.
just keep doing it, bro. Sometimes I'll let ghosts. Sometimes I'll let guests know beforehand because right now I'm recording on my iPhone, but if I record on like my actual camera, if it's not a film camera, it'll only do up to like 30 minutes and then you have to restart it. So I'll let them know, like, yo, if I'm like getting off screen, just keep talking. Like I'll let them know beforehand and they kind of get it, but sometimes they forget. So they're like, should I keep going? And then I just have to like cut that part out. But it's
You gotta
whatever.
do what you gotta do, bro.
Of course, man. So I I was gonna do something different for this episode. Um, we recently played this game that you've been recommending. It's called like We're Not Really Strangers, and it has like a bunch of these questions that you can play with all sorts of different groups in your life. Like you can play with your family, you can play with your friends, a new group of friends, old friends, whatever, right? And it's basically to elicit conversation out of everyone. So you're supposed to ask these questions. You like roll a dice, right? Like that's how it usually works. You roll a dice, you ask a bunch of questions, and then you try to get some conversation going between you guys. So, in the spirit of whatever we just talked about, productivity, whatever, and goals and consistency and whatever, right? There's Sabi actually sent me like a packet of questions that are inspired by that game we just talked about. We're Not Really Strangers. That I believe you and a bunch of your friends made, right?
Yeah,
Yeah. So
yeah,
it's
exactly.
specific to the theme of like trying to better your life, pretty much. So in the spirit of that, we're just gonna go through these questions. How we're gonna do it is we're gonna go through like each number of questions. So I'll say like Sabi, give me a number from 1 to 24, and he'll say like 21 or something like that, right? And then I'll click 21 and then it'll be a random question and he'll do the same thing for me and we'll just keep going one by one until I don't know, until we get bored of it.
Yeah, and
Sounds good.
one thing I want us to like before we like kind of go on is like, I mean, I'm assuming you're gonna like put the questions somewhere. Like I'm totally cool with that. But it would be fun if like people watching kind of like play along as well. Like not
That'd be
necessarily
pretty
like
fun.
talk out loud and be like, oh, let
Yeah.
me answer this as well. But like think about it yourself. Like think
Yeah.
about what the answers to these questions. Like this game is literally just like a social intimacy, whatever you want to call it, just being uncomfortable, being
Hmm.
vulnerable. Because it's like those qualities are very important, but very often overlooked in relationships, just like the fast moving life we live in.
Definitely, bro. And if you guys want to share your answers to any of these questions in the comments, feel free. Like that'll be amazing to just look at. And I really want to know some of your answers because some of these questions get super deep. So I really want to know like what you guys are thinking.
Yeah, totally. This should be
Um,
fun. I'm excited.
yeah, and for audio listeners, I know I've not been giving you guys much love the past few months. I've been pretty bad with getting all the episodes out on certain platforms, but I guess better late than never. We are out on Apple Podcasts now. We are out on Castbox. All episodes are out on Spotify, Google Podcasts, Apple Podcasts, Castbox, and whatever else that Anchor distributes, and Anchor itself. So you guys can listen on those. You guys can leave a 5-star review, and you guys can leave your own comments. It'll be amazing. So yeah, we can start inshallah. So Sabi, give
Yes,
me a number. We're gonna start off with the personal development realm. Give
sure.
me a number from 1 to 24.
1 to 24.
Yep.
Let's go with 24.
24. Okay. What are beliefs to live by for the good? What are beliefs to live by for the good of humanity?
Oh man, this is so good. What are beliefs to live by for the good of humanity?
This one's interesting.
Yeah, I think I think there's a lot. I mean, first of all, I think that there's obviously a
Yeah.
lot, and a lot of these questions are just like there's a lot of answers.
Yeah.
But I guess what I would say is like giving. I think giving is extremely powerful. And I think I say giving as long as it's all encompassing. It covers a
Hmm.
lot of different categories. But I just think the belief that what you have it should be shared. What you
Okay.
have can be shared. Like just like what you have, you can give things to other people. You can help people out. You can give them compassion. You can give them understanding. You can give them empathy. And from those things, like you don't lose anything. If anything, you gain those things. You gain value from those things, and that's been touched upon like in I guess like the past like 10, 20 years a lot more in like research and whatnot. And, like give and take. Adam Grant, he covers a lot in his book as well. But I think giving, like just the idea that like there's no downside to giving. There's no downside to be compassionate.
Gotcha. Gotcha. So should I also answer that question, or should I just move on to a different number?
Go for it. I think I want to hear your answer. Yeah, this will be fun.
What are okay? What was the question again? Let me go back
What
to
are
it.
beliefs to live by for the good of humanity?
What are beliefs to live by for the good of humanity? I feel like tolerance for disagreement would definitely be a big one. So I think a lot of people these days, especially, they take offense and like they take a lot of things personal when people disagree with each other, and I feel like that's something that we all need to work on. So if criticism comes your way, or someone engages with you on something you disagree with, maybe they're not actually trying to hate you. Maybe they're actually trying to like change your mindset a little bit, and maybe trying to better the way you think. I don't know. Like I think especially nowadays, it's just I don't know. I don't want to be those guys that can constantly like get on PC culture, because I appreciate PC culture. I think it has its benefits, right? Like people are not trying to offend anyone nowadays. Like it's good. Like bullying should not happen. Being mean to people should not happen for the sake of it. But I
Yeah.
think there's a downside to it too. Like you're not saying what you want to say some of the time, and that can lose what's the word that I'm looking for? That can lose sincerity. That can lose like
Authenticity.
actual authenticity. Exactly. So yeah, tolerance, disagreement. I think it's a big one.
Yeah.
Okay, Sabi, give me another number from 1 to 24.
Let's do 13.
13. Okay, and how I think I'm gonna do these is you do one number and then I'll just do a different number. So just so we get like a diversity of answers for
Okay.
different things.
Dope. Dope.
Okay. So 13. What are behaviors you'd like to eliminate?
Oh, this is tough. What are okay? So I think
How
so.
about we set a number to
Let's
this? So how about what are
yeah.
two behaviors you'd like to eliminate?
Okay. So how about I was thinking as well like narrow this down to
Hmm.
like is it just gonna be around personal dev?
Um, I think I'll go for personal dev, and then I think I might just go for what are the other ones? So there's personal dev, relationships, the future, entrepreneurship, creativity, random.
Yeah.
I think
We'll just
I'll do
mhm.
one more personal dev. I'll do one from relationships, and then I'll do some from the future.
Okay, dope, dope. So okay, so what are behaviors I'd like to eliminate around
Hmm.
personal dev? I would say one big behavior, and this like literally voicing everything we've talked about is like I guess like being able to be uncomfortable, right?
Okay.
And I think that is it's it's applicable to a lot of different things, like being able to be uncomfortable with putting yourself out there, being able to be uncomfortable by just doing something really hard, starting something really challenging, just like putting your best foot forward. I think that's definitely one thing I like to eliminate, like just avoiding overthinking everything and just kind of like doing things. Be like, you know what, like I want to freaking run for president. I'm going to run for president, even though I wasn't born in the USA and I probably can't run for president. But I was like, let's just run for president. That's obviously an extreme example, but just like being able to like take, just be comfortable in the unknown, be comfortable
Hmm.
in, not knowing. And I guess unknown, not knowing is the same exact thing.
Okay.
And second thing, what are behaviors you'd like to eliminate? Um, I would say staying up, honestly. Like I think I struggle with that sometimes. I'll just like have a really good conversation with a friend that I'm catching up with after a while, I'll just,
Hmm.
stay up past, the time I would like to go to sleep, which is tends to be like 11 o'clock, just so I can have enough time and just wake up early in the morning, get everything I want to get done. I think that's just, like a very easy fix that has a lot of like negative effects in my life, like probably that I'll see later on in the future when I'm just older and I'm just like, like I'm so tired now. But yeah, I would say going to sleep earlier, just consistently doing that is huge.
Definitely, bro. Definitely. Okay. A number from 1 to 24 for me. I will do three. A
Let's
simple
do
three.
it.
What is the TED Talk you were born to perform? This is such a weird
I love,
question. What
I
is a
love this.
TED Talk? What is the TED Talk you were born to perform? So TED Talks, I don't know what the theme of TED Talks are. So okay, I'd probably do a TED Talk on, I'd probably do a TED Talk on love languages.
Ooh,
Yeah,
nice, nice.
I'd probably do it on that, to just how to love others the way that they want to be loved. Just because I really like that kind of content, and I tend to it's like a meme. Like whenever there's a problem going on in my friend groups, I'm just like, bro, what it like focus on like how they want to, you know, reciprocate this kind of love. Like because sometimes you're people are gonna be like, but I did so much for them, but it's like you didn't really give them what they needed or wanted. You kind of just gave them what was easy for you to give.
Yeah,
So yeah, I think it would be an interesting topic to give a TED talk on.
love
And for
languages.
those that don't know, love languages are like, what are the five of them? There's touch, there's gift giving, there's acts of service, there's quality time, and words of
Affirmation.
affirmation. Yeah, words
Yeah,
of affirmation. So one of those five, usually you'll fall into that category of like how you want love to be like received. Like I realize like quality time is my biggest one. And some people are like words of affirmation, some people are gift giving. It really depends on the person. You kind of have to like realize what your friend or your lover or your parent really needs for them. And that's really how love should be given. I think next up I'll do one for relationships, just for one for each of us. So give me a number, Sabi, from 1 to 24.
23.
23.
Yes.
Who are people you need to check in with? Who are people you need to check in with, and why?
Oh, okay. This is kind of a not a sad answer, but this is kind of mopey. I would say my
Oh,
my nana nani, so my grandparents. I'm pretty good with checking in with people, and I'm pretty consistent with it as well. But I feel like the past like 2 weeks, I haven't been like giving them a call, and like I talked to my grandma, my nani, 2 days ago on the phone because she called my mom, and I just picked up, and I just knew she wanted to talk to me for a while. But I usually tend to check in with them, and I just haven't been lately, and I think that's like why I want to do it. It's just like I feel like grandparents are like taken for granted so much, or not taken for granted, but just like they're like some of the most like precious people in our worlds, and
mm-hmm,
it's such an insane privilege to have grandparents, compared to people that don't. And like at this point I only have my mom's side, so my nani and my nana.
mm-hmm,
I lost my dad's side, and it's insane because like when that happened, it was like I think like 2-3 years ago I lost my dada. It was just like that part of like my lineage is kind of just gone, and like
mm-hmm,
that history and all those roots and ancestry is kind of like gone with them leaving. Like all the
mm-hmm,
history that they know, all like my great great grandfather, like what was he like? Like I honestly could never really know that because my grandparents don't really have that many siblings either. I think there's only one of them alive. But yeah, I think grandparents are people that everyone should check in with. If your grandparents are still alive, alhamdulillah. But give them a call and be like, "What's popping, Nani? What's popping, Daddy?" But yeah,
definitely, man.
what about you?
Yeah, I mean, same. I'll just answer the same question. So, like my parents are in Bangladesh right now, along with my sister and my mom's dad, so my nana. They all went to BD. So like I usually talk to my parents like every day, obviously, because they call me or I call them. And because of that, I'm being forced to like talk to the rest of my relatives, where usually it'll be like once every 2 weeks or something like that. Now it's like every day because my mom will like literally give it to every single person in the house. So she'll give to like my dad's mom, my dadu, and like she has a few health problems, so has like hard of hearing. She doesn't really talk
Yeah.
much. She can't really walk a lot. So the conversation, it's a lot of it is just her kind of giving like one question, and then some of it is just us looking at each other, which is really it's yeah, it's just it's fine because sometimes I'm like eating and then she's just like, yo, it's fine, just keep eating, I'll just look at you. I'm like, okay. That's dope. um but yeah, and it's yeah, it's really meaningful. Just like I realize like how much time I haven't been given, because these relatives, like especially grandparents, they really just want to see you. They don't really care what's being said. They kind of just want to make sure like you're still there. So that's really it, man.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
and yeah, the
I
rest of my family too.
I just like an interesting side point to that story. So my neighbors, right? So my neighbors are like a very nice like Bengali family. So when we
Hmm.
moved in, like they were extremely helpful, and like so they have like two twins. Like I think they're like 7 years old now, and they used to play in their backyard, and like their ball used to always come to our house. And
Hmm.
before we moved in, it was like this old lady that lived here, and like she was not very nice. Like she wasn't always like very like, oh, here's your ball. She's like, oh, like not again. So when we moved in, like they were like ecstatic, like, oh my god, like we can finally play again without any consequence, because like we're like they can literally just come over and just take the ball,
Hmm.
or they can just like like usually like we'll just throw it out, like throw it back to their place. Because yeah, I mean also that lady was like not to like empathize with her, not just like kind of like make her the villain. Like she's also very old, had health problems, she probably
Yeah.
couldn't go out that much. Um, but anyway, so that family, so those kids, right? They have a nana. Their nana lives with them. Their nana nani both
Hmm.
lives with them. Um, and it's insane because like so I call him nana as well. Like I
Nice,
obviously
nice. Yeah.
for like respect and whatnot, but like
Yeah, that's just
literally like
the culture. Like any old person is your nana, dada, whatever.
yeah exactly. But the thing with him, it's like he just like we have like this strange, not strange in a bad way, but just like this deep connection. And what I mean by that is like literally when we moved in, like he would just say salam to me. Like he speaks
Hmm.
only Bangla, right? So
Yeah.
I can only make out like certain parts of what he says, and like I respond to him in English because he understands Urdu as well, but English better because he's like works here a little bit. But even
Okay.
that, like very scattered, like he can barely understand what I'm saying. I can barely understand what he's saying. But he'll just like come over literally to our house and be like, I haven't seen Sabeeh in a while.
Oh,
Like, where is he? Like, can I see him?
that's
And
cute.
all he does, we talk, like he sees me for a bit. He like, he's like, oh, like I'm so happy to see you. Like, I feel so good now. I feel so good whenever I see you. And then he like, sometimes he just told me stories of like, and this is a tangent, but I think it's an interesting story that I think
Hmm.
it might be fun to share.
Yeah.
And one time he just told me like, like you remind me of my like my grandchildren, my nieces and nephews back in Bangladesh.
Mm.
So the reason why he still works, right? He's like 80s, like late 70s, early 80s, something like that. He works as a butcher in like a local grocery by our in
Yeah.
our neighborhood. And he told me one day, he was like, the reason I work, and again, like this is all scattered stuff that I just like picked up. And like the reason I work is like back in Bangladesh, I still have like kids I have to take care of. And like whenever I
Mm.
go there, like I would go and like, they would see me and like I would always just like give them 100. What's the currency? There's like Takai or something.
Taka, yeah, Taka.
Yeah, Taka. I would just give them 100 Taka and I would just like, let them vibe. And you remind me of those. So whenever I see you doing stuff, whenever I see you happy, I'm happy because I feel like you're doing good, so I'm doing good.
Yeah.
And literally, like we'll meet and he'll just cry. Like he'll see me and he'll just start crying of just like
Mm.
gratefulness and appreciation. It's like, and I'm not even related to him. Like I just
Yeah,
moved in
bro.
like 3 years ago.
Bengali elderly, they're a different level of emotional, man. Like the amount of love and emotion they have.
Yeah, and that's the thing. It's like literally to your point, like all they want is like they just want to see you. And there's
Yeah.
many elements of that we can dissect, like mortality. Like they know they're old, they know they're going to leave the world soon, and like they feel better when they see like younger people doing well. But it's just like it's so simple. Like all we have to give is like a little bit of our attention, a
Hmm.
little bit of our time, even like a little bit of like, our appearance. and it means the world to these people.
Yeah. Yeah,
And
bro.
I don't know, it's just a story that like I always think about whenever I think of grandparents. Like he's not even like my blood grandparent, but I literally consider him one of my my
Yeah.
grandparents. It's strange, but yeah.
Yeah, definitely, man. We'll do one from. We've been doing this for a while, so we'll do one from the future.
Let's do it.
One for you, and then a different one for me because I just want like variety of questions. So give me a number from 1 to 21.
1 to 21.
Yep.
Let's do. Let's see. Let's do question 3.
Question 3.
Yeah.
What are some headaches (parentheses problems) you hope technology will solve? Okay, this is perfect for you.
Okay. Um. Also, just so you know, I had the question in front of me, and I was just opening the and I was like, which one is relevant? But just preface for everyone listening, the questions are very centered around technology. So I was like looking for one that's like generally applicable.
Okay.
But what are some problems I hope technology will solve? I think a lot of those problems are being done, but I think like some of the probably one of the biggest ones would be transport, right? Like Tesla full self-driving FSD, it's in the beta right now. And it's insane. Like it's absurd how good it is. And they're YouTubers and there are certain people that have Tesla, they get it. Like, you know, they're the beta users and they're handpicked and whatnot. A lot of them obviously have to be YouTubers and influencers and whatnot. A lot of them like are smaller scale YouTubers. But
Yeah.
there's a video I was watching the other day. It was like, you know, some guy driving his Tesla in like Berkeley, and they were just going to really, really tough intersection. There's literally an intersection where there's like traffic coming in from 6 different directions, and the car had to manage its way through, and it did it. Like it buffered, it stopped for a bit, it hesitated a lot because so many moving pieces, but it did it right. And I think like that's just like something really interesting, cool, and like obviously electric vehicles and self-driving vehicles, the pricing will fall tremendously in the next like 5-10 years. It's just like, you know, mass mobilization. I think that'll be a big one. And then beyond that, like I think medical problems, like genetic engineering, it's like it's a controversial topic, but there's so much good it can do. Like sickle cell disease. 2019, Victoria Gray, she was the first patient to be ever cured of sickle cell disease through like a gene editing kind of like application. Like within I think 2 weeks, 95% of all of her cells were cured from sickle cell disease. And it's insane. Like we can save literally millions of lives, preventable deaths now, just by a little bit of like, you know, editing. And yes, like you're messing with a lot of different things. You're messing with biology, but you know, what's the difference between that and, you know, a flu shot? Like we're messing with biology either way. And like as long as you're doing it in a good way, and there's bylaws and rules and regulations obviously for it, so people don't take advantage of it. I think there's a lot of like just potential there, and I feel like for people that kind of go through that person, have family members that, you know, deal with these problems, like for them, they'll understand like how impactful that would be if you can just solve, you know, genetic diseases in the next 5-10 years. Like that's insane. That's insane to me.
Yeah, bro, that'd be dope. Is the rest of the feature category like about tech and stuff?
Yeah, most of them is,
Interesting.
but there's definitely some like, you know, question 5, question 8, they're more applicable. Question 4,
Bro, no, you're spoiling it for me. Nah. Okay, so that was an amazing answer. And I think because you mentioned Tesla, I feel like electric vehicles in general will just be the next market because
yeah,
Neo is skyrocketing. Fisker is on the come up. There's just a bunch of electric vehicle companies right now. Yeah, the genetic technology one is pretty interesting too.
yeah.
I think I'm just gonna. Sorry, what
No,
was that?
no, I was gonna like mention like I think there's climate change technology as well as like especially with Gen Z millennials, like
Yeah,
we care about these issues so much more. And, like there's been studies done and whatnot.
yeah.
Like I think that's gonna be huge,
I think the
huge.
term is like social capitalism or something like that.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, where people are really just trying to make solutions rather than profit.
Yeah, definitely.
I'll choose one from creativity because it looks interesting. So,
Let's do it.
number from 1 to 21, I will choose 8.
All right.
Who are some 21st century superheroes? Off camera, but I don't want this question. I think it's pretty uninteresting.
I agree.
Okay, we're gonna do a different question. I'll do number 13.
Number 13. Go.
Brainstorm secret events you'd like to hold.
Ooh,
Brainstorm secret events you'd like to hold. Brainstorm secret events you'd like to hold. I'd like to hold secret events. All right, I'll just take that however I want. I would like to hold a weekly book club. That would be interesting. A weekly book club. That would be a good event. Um, another event. I'd love to do like a live event. So there's this podcaster that I really look up to. I mentioned him before. His name is Faisal Chaudhry, and he runs Freshly Grounded, and he does live events like in the UK. He's done like three. Um, and thousands of people show up to them, and he does like it's kind of like a podcast live, but he has like segments. So he has like motivational speakers, but also like bits. So some people like he has some skits going on. He has like performances from poets and other nasheed and stuff like that. So I'd love to do like a live event full of like performances, and it would be really cool is if it was people I personally know. So I would love to like put them on a platform and like get their get their light shining, and that'd be really dope. Just live events in general. I'm really into like theater and like I don't know. It's really cool. Like I would love to plan something like that. Um and maybe I'll give one more. How about uh how about what did I say? A book club, a live event with like different speakers and like activities and stuff. A play would be dope. A play would be really dope.
a secret play.
A
Okay,
secret play, just
nice.
with the boys. What would be your answer for this? I'm curious.
Dude, so just from you speaking, I had so many ideas running through my head. So
I,
one
I
thing,
wish you actually answered it first, just so I could get like the brain rolling. But yeah, go for it.
yeah. So for most people probably know this. Maybe some people don't. But like
Hmm.
in the 30s or whatnot, I forgot what time it was. It was like drinking was prohibited, right? Like 21st Amendment, whatever.
Yeah.
Don't quote me on the number. I think it was 21st, either whatever. Anyways, so they're like speakeasies. They're like these underground bars, underground pubs where people just went
You'd
like
run one of
without
those?
the government knowing. I wouldn't run one of those because it's stuck for Allah, but I would like to run like some sort of speakeasy, like just some hidden like undercover place, like in some like shady basement.
Hmm.
But like you go in, it's like actually very nice. It's a good vibe. Everyone's there. It's like some exclusive club like that. And like the best comparison I could think of is like a speakeasy, but instead of beer and alcohol, it's milk. Because I love milk.
Ooh.
I think milk is
Uh-huh.
dope. But you just go down. There's just like like there's like fake uters that you just pull to get like milk. And it's like passing around cups of milk.
Bro, that's such a
Um,
good answer. What the hell? Oh, you definitely had that prepared. That's way too thought out.
No, I thought about it as you were speaking, but I've always been to speakeasies. I think it's so cool. Just like, going to like a freaking window, it's just like a wooden window opens
Yeah.
up and you put cash and whatever. Aside from that, I would say any sort of like hidden thing like that is very interesting. I think one other really funny idea I had is like some competition that's like no judgment or anything where people bring like their favorite food that they can't like that they think they can never get tired of, right? Like
Uh-huh.
I was thinking I can't think of a food right now, but there's definitely is one food like I can eat so much of it, I never get tired of it. And I was just thinking, like what if we like brownies, cookies? Oh, I love cookies, like chocolate chip cookies. And it's like
Yeah.
an infinite supply of that food. And it's just a bunch of people together just eating as much as they can and seeing like if they get tired or if
Hmm.
they just get full. I think those two would be really fun secret events.
That would be dope, bro. That sounds so one of those sounds really intriguing. The other one just sounds like your fantasy from childhood. But those were really dope answers, I'm not gonna lie.
Yeah.
All right, man. I think we got a lot out of this episode. A bunch of cool advice, a bunch of not advice. I wouldn't say advice. I'm not really one to give advice, but I'd say like just cool talk about different stuff we're passionate about. Just, like I said in the beginning, this is just a bunch of boys just chilling. The lads,
Yeah.
the fellas.
Straight up.
You know. So if you guys enjoyed this episode, definitely leave a like and a comment. If you're listening on audio platforms, leave a 5-star, leave a review. because I believe those help. I haven't really researched it, but I'm assuming they help. I'm assuming they help the algorithm. Um, and yeah, man. Sabi, you have any parting words for my fellas, the audience?
Just leave a review, help my man out. This is a really awesome talk. Thank you guys so much for listening. If you made it this far, and yeah, just keep doing you, keep being you, because there's no one out there like you, and I like you just the way like you are.
That's from Mr. Rogers.
Yeah, I messed it up at the end, but I was trying to do
I
the quote. Oh man, I love
got
the
you,
fact
bro.
that you know.
I got
But
you, bro.
yeah,
Don't worry.
that's all.
Yeah, that's amazing, man. So yeah, we're gonna end off this episode. And I actually made a promise to my last guest to end off every episode with a certain dua. So we're just gonna end off with this. Subhanakallahumma bihamdika. Ashhadu an la ilaha illa anta astaghfiruka wa atubu ilaik. And with that dua, if you recite it at the end of every meeting, you'll be forgiven for whatever wrong thing you said, and inshallah, um,
Wow,
whatever
subhanallah.
you said was full of barakah and full of, blessings from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So yeah, guys, assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.